was crazy easy. Oh my God. I'm almost getting a tiny bit, like a little bit savvy with the camera that I got, which, God, it's wonderful when you know something, or you think you might know it. Okay, so basically your molecular body needs to line up with everything else. So even though you know everything's over, your molecular body, it's like a scratch in a record. It's active. So how do you unactivate that? Our society is based on activating our commercials, our programming. Everything is to make everybody feel a little bit upset and incontent. And that way you will purchase something to make you feel just a little bit better. How about my book? And that's the joke. As you try to change the world, you become the world. So I'm diffusing it by offering up the book for free, because what do I care? I'm an artist. I believe in faith that the world supports me. I do believe that. So one of the characters, I've discussed a lot of the characters. One of the characters that I'm discussing in my book, I have to start this over. Surf, story, understand, recast, and flow. 4-step process out of character, or an actor's method out of the madness, by Susie K Taylor. The K stands for Kreitman. We are in the introduction on page 17. Please join me. We're going to talk about when I was asked to play an angry politician. I had just finished doing a lot of work on myself. I was not going back ever to acting. But I was called by a woman in the theater community in Miami to come and be part of her amazing performance, immersive piece. And she wanted me to play the angry politician. I once was offered this role after I had quit acting. The theater would be immersive. Some of the issues with immersive theater are less boundaries and many more chances to get caught in the role. The pieces performed in this play looped each night almost 9 times. So you're saying the same monologue 9 times. The monologue could be 15 minutes, but you're basically, doing a mini short one-woman show 9 times. So just imagine saying something over and over again, 9 times a night for a total of 100 times. Like any mantra, imagine that the people are not in the audience but on a chair next to you. Lines are blurred, and self and character are eventually indetectable. People who meet you on set think you are the role, because that's when they see you. So what else could you be? Being aware that I get into character and had spent so much time getting over being angry, I kindly declined. Then they had another offer. So this was basically, I'm done with acting. Acting in itself is toxic, and I will never be an actor again because it's mentally abusive, and I call them emotional concussions. So I'm never going to play an angry person, and people think tall, dark-haired ladies should just be angry people. So I actually was like, I'm not going to be angry. So they had me audition for another role. This was a really cool thing. So now I'm like, well, she's not angry. So, Mrs. Wade. The next offer, the character of a 1950s host. I took it and approached her entire piece from the position of love. Mrs. Wade was my lab test for my personal acting career. Could my surf method be used not just to get out of character, but could I create a character with those same 4 steps? Song, this time it's like song, story, understanding, moving, recast her, and flow. So it's like, how do you play notes always in like a major chord and don't add any minor notes to it? Is it possible, and would people be entertained? It was a huge success, actually. And to this day, I have people around town recognizing me. And I mean recognizing me as Mrs. Wade. Once I went to the famous South Beach restaurant named Joe's Stone Crab, and the woman showing us the table kept looking at me with love in her eyes. But she wasn't really looking at me, Susie, that way. She was actually looking at my character, Mrs. Wade, a loving, kind woman. I realized that being in this role of woman who preferred women even opened up my own admiration for them. Not being gay, I was being very fascinated about the feeling I would have towards women. I, Mrs. Wade, was dancing in my scene, or even seeing in everyday life. Let's see this. Hold up. I I was very fascinated about the feeling I would have towards women I, Mrs. Wade, was dancing with in my scene, or even seeing in my everyday life. This was indeed a whole new world. I think my book needs like an interpreter. Like, I need Keegan Michael Key like right here interpreting my book that was actually an interpretation of what was in my head. So probably a second edition coming out. But also, like, when I read it, I forget that I'm reading my book that was kind of like edited by someone trying to make it make sense. But basically what I was trying to say was, I was in the play, and in the play I danced with women. And as Mrs. Wade, I was really into them. But then sometimes I would leave the play and go throughout my life, and I would start getting into women in my life. Mind you, I'm married and to a boy, and so it's just really weird, like, compartment of your brain that's like activated, and you're like, that's so strange. Those wires weren't normally activated in my day-to-day life, you know. Next role, gallerist. The next role I took was a gallerist. Originally the script was one way, but then in rehearsal it shifted, and I became so mad. It was about someone I knew, and I was surprised at the reason I was so angry. When I finally met up with the woman and her sister, I realized that the anger and the pain I was transmuting was still active in their personal life. So the type of work I do in Miami is to work with live. I mean, so this is like a live lab test concept. So first, can I create through kindness? Yes, Mrs. Wade, proven. Second, now we're going to create a character. I thought she was like cool and artsy and fun, but they started shifting it to be a very specific story of a Miami family. And I started getting really, really angry. Like, not like a PMS angry, but like really angry. And yeah, so I was like, what is going on? But then I met up with them, the people that the story was written about, and I was telling their story. I was healing it. I was healing their wounds in real time. And when they told me this, I was not surprised. So what happened was, when I met up with the people whose story this was, it didn't, on the top, seems like, okay, I had a building and I had to sell it. No big deal. Moving on, made some money, I'm out. No. This gallerist was very, very angry. And when I met up with the people that the story was about, they were angry. Like, they were very angry. And they had reason to be angry. But I hadn't really thought, I didn't want to think that. But it was kept coming up because it was in the character that was written. You know, it's like you can't get away from a character that is written as much as you try. Showered it all with love, and I had to do some work getting out of that character. Took a bit of times. As actors, we do that. We hold a story for people so that they can hopefully let it go. If we can shift it for them. After repeating it nearly 100 times, I ended that piece with a gesture of closure. So after what we did at the end of that piece is I did something very closing. Like, I kept trying to, heal. Just heal the story. And through my actions, like a wave, I slowly felt a release of this anger for my character, but I think also for the people that this story was about. So I was kind of like an interpretive healer, right? Like in Shakespeare, they have someone like courting somebody for somebody else. I was like healing the anger for somebody else. And I think that theater does that a lot when it's put in the right position. Melania Trump. This was another character. This one I was excited to work on this amazing new play in this character. And although it scared and even excited me, I knew I could implement my skills to do it safely. I knew how to create a playlist, how to step by step get into her mind and body, and at the same time leave a trail of breadcrumbs so I could return to myself. I knew how to pace myself and not go too far too soon. I knew how to trust my process. I knew how to explain my process to the director. When I was requested to stay in character the entire rehearsal, I informed the director that was not going to work for me. When I asked the director to trust I would get there, they did. And as he workshopped the script, first online due to COVID, and then in person in a private space, I would go in and out of character while I was working, kind of marking and acting on and off. But as time went on, the director wanted to see all of it, full out. I informed him that we were still workshopping, and when we went into rehearsal, I would do that. But for the time being, I was just marking. At first, the piece was, in my eyes, a comedy and about something foreign to me. But as I researched, I became more and more sympathetic up to the role of Melania. through interviews I watched, books I read, observations I made about her body language, I became keenly aware that this was a dark play. She was parched with loneliness, and I was tiptoeing toward her. Shall I go on? I'm going to end that one there. 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. What happened when Susie K Taylor goes to portray Melania? Okay, tiptoeing towards her. That's where I'm going to end this. Today, I'm going to break it up today. I think 20 minutes was too long. And that's it. I'm just going to piecemeal process out my book to you, showing you how, as a kind of a newbie actor, I was having problems with my role. Then created a way to get out of all my past roles, which I never exited. Then I started back into acting, choosing my roles wisely, and then realizing as much as you choose them, it doesn't mean you can change them. So you might think you're going into a comedy and end up having, a totally dark experience, and then you need to know how to get out. So then it's like, okay, well, now I know how I work. I need to pace myself. I need a playlist in character. I need a playlist out of character. I need to, mark things out, not go full out dance. Like if you were a dancer, you wouldn't go full out every day. You would protect your body because if you could injure yourself. We can injure ourselves too with our head and emotional journeys and traumas. So that's it. That's where we're at. And so basically, as I started doing Melania, thinking, okay, this is a comedy, then it started getting a little dark, then I started getting sympathetic, then I told the director, this is how I work, had it all lined up. I wonder what I did. To be continued. That was still 15 minutes. What?